Good afternoon, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Today on Newsfeed at noon, after 9 years in office, embattled Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announces his resignation. Devotees of the Black Nazarene line up for the traditional Pahalík at the Quirino Grandstand in Manila. The country's inflation rate quickens in December, and Hollywood couple Tom Holland and Zendaya are reportedly engaged. Thanks for joining us. We begin with major political development in Canada. After 9 years in office, embattled Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is stepping down. Trudeau says he will remain in his post until the ruling Liberal Party chooses his replacement. He adds Parliament will be suspended until March 24th. Trudeau has been under heavy pressure from Liberal legislators to quit, amid polls showing the party will be crushed at the next election.
This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election. As you all know, I am a fighter, and I am not someone who backs away from a fight, particularly when a fight is as important as this one is. But I have always been driven by my love for Canada, by my desire to serve Canadians, and by what is in the best interest of Canadians. And Canadians deserve a real choice in the next election. And it has become obvious to me with the internal battles that I cannot be the one to carry the Liberal standard into the next election.
Trudeau took office in 2015. He won re-election twice, becoming one of Canada's longest-serving prime ministers. But his popularity started dipping 2 years ago amid public anger over high prices and housing shortages.
If I have one regret, particularly as we approach this election, well, there are probably many regrets that I will think of. But I do wish that we'd been able to change the way we elect our governments in this country so that people could simply choose a second choice or a third choice on the same ballot, so that parties would spend more time trying to be people's second or third choices, and people would have been looking for things they have in common instead of trying to polarize and divide Canadians against each other. I think in this time, figuring out how to pull together and find common ground remains something that is really important for democracies, but I could not change unilaterally without support of other parties our electoral system. That wouldn't have been responsible.
The U.S. Congress formally certifies Donald Trump's November election victory. His election rival, Vice President Kamala Harris, presided over the event as required by America's Constitution. The ritual went like clockwork, clearing the way for Trump to be sworn in on January 20th. This stood in sharp contrast to 4 years ago when a mob of his supporters stormed the Capitol in a failed bid to block the certification of his loss to President Joe Biden.
Well, today was obviously a very important day, and it was about what should be the norm and what the American people should be able to take for granted, which is that one of the most important pillars of our democracy is that there will be a peaceful transfer of power. And today, I did what I have done my entire career, which is take seriously the oath that I have taken many times to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, which included today performing my constitutional duties to ensure that the people of America, the voters of America, will have their votes counted, that those votes matter, and that they will determine then the outcome of an election. I do believe very strongly that America's democracy is only as strong as our willingness to fight for it. Every single person, their willingness to fight for and respect the importance of our democracy. Otherwise, it is very fragile, and it will not be able to withstand moments of crisis. And today, America's democracy stood.
As Congress meets to confirm Trump's victory, a major winter storm cripples the U.S. Capitol. Federal offices and public schools in Washington, D.C. were closed as about 5 inches of snow blanketed the area. The weather brought Monday's early morning commute to a standstill while the Capitol building was barely visible. Up to 8 inches of snow was also recorded in some surrounding areas of Maryland and Virginia. Still in the U.S., President Joe Biden travels to New Orleans to visit the site of the New Year's Day attack that left 14 people dead. Biden and his wife, Jill, went to Bourbon Street to place flowers at a makeshift memorial for the victims. They later went to a church to attend a memorial service. Dozens of other people were injured when a U.S. Army veteran rammed a truck into a crowd of revelers last week. The suspect, who was killed in a shootout with police, was said to have pledged allegiance to ISIS. Up to 220 Filipinos jailed in the United Arab Emirates were pardoned by the country's government last month. President Bongbong Marcos says the pardons were granted during the UAE's 53rd National Day on December 2. Marcos adds their documents are now being processed to allow them to return to the Philippines immediately. Here's the president's full statement.
Minamahal kong kababayan, ikinagagalak kong ipabatid na sa okasyon ng ika-53 National Day ng United Arab Emirates, 220 Pilipino ang pinagkalooban ng pardon ni kanyang kamahalan Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. Ang desisyong ito, nakaragdagan sa 143 Pilipino na nabigyan ng pardon noong Eid al-Adha, ay patunay na matibay ang ugnayan ng ating mga bansa. We extend, of course, our heartfelt gratitude to His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan and Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, whom I also had the honor to meet for this very compassionate gesture. Patuloy na pinoproseso ang mga dokumento ng ating mga kababayan para sa kanilang agarang pagbabalik.
Preparations for the 2025 midterm elections are in full swing, with the printing of official ballots now underway. Hanati reports.
Come May 12, 2025, Filipinos will hold in their hands one of the most powerful symbols of democracy, the ballot. The Commission on Elections has begun printing over 70 million official ballots for the upcoming midterm elections, almost 3 weeks earlier compared to the 2022 polls. The National Printing Office aims to print over 950,000 ballots daily to complete the process by April 14.
Kahit paano aabot pa rin, lalo na yung susunod na proseso, yung pag-ship out ng mga balota natin.
The first ballots to be printed are for overseas voting, particularly in countries where online voting is not allowed. This also includes ballots for the Bangsamoro region and local absentee voting.
Each ballot that is printed today and in the days to come carries the power to shape the country's future.
These two massive printers cost 300 million pesos each, born out of the partnership between the Comelec and Miro systems. The printing process begins with the National Printing Office generating PDF files of the ballots based on encrypted data from the Comelec's Information Technology Department. These files are then run through the machines.
Kung sakali na hindi natin ma-reach ang gusto nating bilang ng balota na meron tayo sa gusto natin sa bawat araw, nandiyan naman ang ibang machine ng National Printing Office.
Once printed, the ballots undergo manual verification by these teams to ensure there are no errors or duplicates.
We are fully committed to ensuring that this process is carried out with the highest standards of security, transparency, and accuracy.
Apart from ballot printing, the Comelec is also focusing on auditing one of its data centers in Makati, in coordination with an international certifying body. This center will secure electoral data for May, making it crucial to ensure everything runs smoothly without any disruptions.
Kami naman, ang importante, yung lahat ng providers natin ay responsive sa kailangan ng international certifying body.
The Commission is also open to feedback or comments to improve its preparations. But according to the COMELEC, they are hopeful the ballot printing and technical work for the upcoming elections will be completed on time. Hannah T., Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Devotees of the Black Nazarene continue to line up for the traditional Pahalík at the Quirino Grandstand in Manila. Abante Radio's Just Ignacio joins us for more details. Just how many devotees have gone there so far this morning?
Mai, according to the latest report from the Manila Police District, from midnight until 7 a.m. this Tuesday, 1,600 devotees have lined up to participate in the Pahalík, or the traditional kissing of the image of Jesus of Nazareth. Carrying handkerchiefs and with towels, devotees eagerly wipe them on the cross and feet of the sacred image as an act of devotion. Some of the attendees have traveled from far places, including Las Piñas, Tarlac, Cavite, Quezon Province, and other nearby provinces. In an interview with Abante Radio, Mitzi and Mac, a mother and daughter who were first-time participants, shared their experience. Originally planning to visit a doctor for a checkup, they decided to join the line after encountering others on their way to the Pahalík. After wiping the image, they described feeling emotional and nervous. As of this moment, more people are continuing to arrive to pay their respects to the image of Jesus of Nazareth. The Pahalík will continue until Thursday as part of the annual Traslacion tradition. Back to you, Mai.
How are security measures there at the Quirino Grandstand?
Yes, Mai, the Philippine National Police, together with the Philippine Coast Guard, MMDA, and even the Hijos del Nazareno are on high alert. Since the start of the Pahalík, the security is tight here in Quirino Grandstand, where security personnel are stationed on every entrance and key places in around the grandstand. Yesterday, the PNP, PCG, and other concerned security agencies conducted a send-off ceremony that was led by PNP Chief General Romel Marbil. They were also prayed for and blessed with the holy water by the Bishop and Parish Priest Quiapo Church Reverend Father Rufino Sescon Jr. And aside from that, my MMDA Chairman Don Artes arrived today to conduct an inspection here in Quirino Grandstand, as MMDA plays a big part in ensuring the orderliness in the area. Mai?
Thank you for that report, Just Ignacio of Abante Radio, live from the Quirino Grandstand. We're taking a break. Still to come, the country's inflation rate quickens in December. That and more when Newsfeed at Noon returns. Stay with us. You're back on Newsfeed at noon. The country's inflation rate quickened last month to 2.9%. Let's get more details on this from our correspondent, Sujin Kim, who joins us now on the line. Sujin, go ahead.
Mai, the Philippines ended 2024 with an inflation rate of 2.9% in December, up from 2.5% in November and 2.3% in October. While it still remains among the slowest in 4 years, this is also the highest in the last 4 months. The December uptick was driven by faster price increases in housing, utilities, and transportation, which collectively accounted for 52.9% of the total inflation increase. Rent inflation rose to 2.4%, while LPG surged with 7.8% inflation. Ship fares skyrocketed with 71.9% inflation driving the sector's upward trend. Meanwhile, food items such as chicken, mangoes, tomatoes recorded higher inflation rates. Notably, tomatoes saw a staggering 128% inflation year-on-year, followed by cabbage at nearly 38%. On the other hand, prices for some food items like onions and potatoes registered negative inflation. Prices of rice are also slightly down, ranging between 48 to 64 pesos per kilo on average for regular, well-milled, and special rice. Sugar, particularly red sugar, noted slower price increase. National Statistician Undersecretary Dennis Mapa explained typhoons and other meteorological events affect agriculture first.
Siguro yung good news is that kung hindi niyo napapansin, yung inflation rate sa bigas ay bumababa na. In fact, baka mayroon tayong expectation na maging negative na yung inflation sa rice sa January. So that's part of the good news.
Meanwhile, NEDA Secretary Arsenio Balisacan is also optimistic about curbing inflation this 2025 as the government intensifies their efforts to improve productivity and food security while protecting the consumers' purchasing power. And those are latest updates from Quezon City. Back to you, Mai.
Thank you, Sujin Kim there reporting. The Department of Agriculture, or DA, plans to impose a maximum suggested retail price on imported rice. It will range from 42 to 55 pesos per kilo. Agriculture Secretary Francisco Tiu Laurel says this aims to address unreasonable prices in some local markets. He says they will finalize crafting the label rules within the month. The country's manufacturing industry wrapped up 2024 with its best performance in 7 years. Sujin Kim returns with the details.
The Philippine manufacturing sector ended 2024 with the strongest growth since 2017, recording a PMI score of 54.3 in December, indicating sustained growth for 16 consecutive months. Increased demand from both local and global markets drove higher production and new orders. For the first time in 5 months, export orders also picked up, signaling a recovery in international trade. According to Trade Undersecretary Seferino Rodolfo, government support for infrastructure and ease of doing business were key factors. Companies also increased purchasing activity, reaching the highest level in nearly 2 years. Despite higher production, there was a marginal decline in employment levels due to production efficiency. S&P also noted lower raw material and supplier costs, keeping product prices affordable.
Very important would be yung infrastructure and spending program, and then yung the government's ability to tame the inflation that drove consumer confidence and then drove consumer spending. Yung mga government initiatives, yung mga Build Better More sa infrastructure natin is a constant in terms of the administration's policies. Yung Create More, we will still be seeing the full impact of Create More. In fact, I would say that towards the last quarter of the year.
Looking ahead, this year, Undersecretary Rodolfo sees further expansion in the manufacturing industry, driven by Create More, the Philippine-South Korea Free Trade Agreement, and the shift to renewable energy.
You will see that there are some technologies in the renewable energy sphere. Yung technologies are already mature and the supply chain is already mature. Then, another driver for 2025 would be yung ating mining and mineral processing. And then, dire-diretso na yun all the way to the downstream industries.
Sujin Kim, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
The Pahalík Investment Corporation, or MIC, sets its sights on the energy sector for its first investment in early 2025. According to MIC President and CEO Rafael Consing Jr., the corporation is also evaluating investments in food security, healthcare, and mining. These would mark the first projects of the MIC since President Bongbong Marcos signed the Pahalík Investments Act into law in July 2023. The Development Bank of the Philippines and Land Bank contributed a combined 75 billion pesos as seed capital for the fund. The Bureau of Customs, or BOC, rolls out new guidelines to boost the free trade agreement between the Philippines and South Korea. Under the new rules, products from South Korea will benefit from preferential treatment, including lower or zero tariffs. This comes after President Marcos signed Executive Order Number 80 to adjust import duty rates on select goods. The BOC says the rules aim to ensure smooth implementation of the trade agreement and maximize its benefits. The world's biggest tech show returns to Las Vegas, and this year it's going all in on AI. CES 2025, formerly known as the Consumer Electronics Show, will officially open Tuesday. But these early tech giants are showcasing the latest innovations from software enhancements to AI integration. LG just unveiled several new features for its home products, including an AI-powered voice ID control for TVS that will allow consumers to help find curated content. It also showed off an AI assistant that can help you find and order your next cup of coffee and even read your vital signs.
LG AI also alerts you of any irregular vital signs to give you a quick on-the-go health check. You will feel as if the car cares about all the things that interest you. And for an added personal touch, the AI turns your old or often fragmented memories on the road into vivid trips down memory lane. AI-powered cameras outside the vehicle record scenic surroundings, famous locations, and memorable conversations, and then selects the passenger's points of interest to create a visual timeline of the vehicle's journeys.
Meanwhile, Deere bets big on autonomous machinery, unveiling new tractors and industrial equipment. The world's largest farm equipment maker is making strides towards automating manual work amid a shortage of skilled workers and high labor costs.
So this fully electric tractor is powered by up to 5 immersion-cooled batteries. And that means that farmers can not only meet their operational needs, but also achieve their sustainability goals as well. Plus, fuel costs, maintenance costs, and maintenance downtime are all reduced by about half. Today, we're testing this electric tractor with real customers and real orchards, and our plan is to introduce autonomy as we scale the pace of autonomy across our fleet.
We're taking another breather up ahead. The U.S. reports its first human death due to bird flu. The details when we return. Keep it here on Newsfeed at noon. Welcome back to Newsfeed at noon. Again, the headlines. After 9 years in office, embattled Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announces his resignation. Devotees of the Black Nazarene line up for the traditional Pahalík at the Quirino Grandstand in Manila. The country's inflation rate quickens in December. And Hollywood couple Tom Holland and Zendaya are reportedly engaged. Security forces ramp up preparations for the annual traslasyon that's happening this Thursday. Francis Falve tells us more.
No aircraft, including for drones, will be allowed to fly over the Quirino Grandstand and the Quiapo Church on Thursday, January 9, 2025. According to the PNP, this is part of the security plans for the National Peace of the Black Nazarene or traslasyon. 12,168 police officers will be deployed from midnight on January 8 until the conclusion of the traslasyon. 2,306 personnel from the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Coast Guard, Bureau of Fire Protection, Metro Manila Development Authority, Department of Health, and Philippine Red Cross will provide support. The local government of Manila and the Quiapo Church are also mobilizing their forces. The Highway Patrol Group will focus on managing traffic along the 5.8-kilometer procession route from the grandstand to the church. Plainclothes intelligence operatives and the Anti-Cybercrime Group will monitor physical and cybersecurity threats. The PNP says there are no serious threats monitored so far. The use of signal jammers will depend on the security threat assessment.
Hindi pa po kinukonsider yan, but it will really depend on the prevailing security threat assessment on the day of this major event po.
Heightened alert will begin midnight of January 7, coinciding with the traditional Pahalík at the Quirino Grandstand. PNP says the goal is to shorten the procession time this year. Last year, it took 15 hours for the procession to be completed.
Iniba rin po yung design po ng andas po ngayon at one of the factors na nakaka-delay po ng posisyon ay yung pagsampa po ng ilang mga deboto po doon sa andas. Kaya binago rin po yung disenyo ng andas in the hope na mas mapapabilis po.
In an interview with the Bilyonaryo News Channel, Quiapo Church Parochial Vicar Father Robert Arellano confirmed that organizers also want to shorten the procession.
We do not know what will happen. So much so as we are praying that it will be shortened. Pero yung mga pagbabago na nagawa na natin na implement starting last year, nagkaroon na ng andas ng Nazarene. At ito ay ipagpapatuloy na yung taon. At sa andas ito, mas lalo pa natin pinagtibay, mas lalo pa natin pinaganda, at mas higit sa lahat, mas magiging ligtas ito para sa lahat.
The Philippine Coast Guard has already deployed 21 floating assets in the Pasig River near Ayala Bridge, Jones Bridge, and Manila Bay near the Quirino Grandstand.
1,100 Coast Guard personnel will be augmented in this transaction in coordination with AFP and PNP to ensure that the 2025 Feast of the Black Nazarene will be safe, secure, and peaceful.
The Department of Health has placed all hospitals in Metro Manila, Central Luzon, and Calabarzon under Code White Alert for the traslasyon. Fire trucks and Red Cross ambulances will be stationed at strategic locations for emergencies and health concerns. A liquor and gun ban will be enforced in Manila from January 8 to January 11. A send-off ceremony was held on Monday afternoon at the Quirino Grandstand for the agency's leading security and emergency response for the Traslasyon 2025. The PNP will remain on heightened alert after the procession as it transitions to other major events, including the Iglesia ni Cristo Peace Rally on January 13, the Feast of Santo Niño on January 19, and the upcoming midterm elections this May. Francis Polbe, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
The National Security Council slams China's continued aggression in the West Philippine Sea after the country's monster ship was spotted near Zambales. Francis Falve returns with this report.
China Coast Guard 5901 under Republic Act 12064 Philippine Maritime Zones Act, the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea, and the 2016 Arbitral Award. You do not possess any legal authority to patrol within the Philippines Exclusive Economic Zone. You are directed to depart immediately and to notify us of your intention.
This is the radio challenge by BRP Cabra of the Philippine Coast Guard to the so-called monster ship of the China Coast Guard, spotted near Zambales Saturday afternoon. According to the National Security Council Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya, this incident is a clear example of China's deception, aggression, and bullying in the West Philippine Sea.
We're shadowing it. Nandyan pa rin po hanggang ngayon ang BRP Cabra na siyang nagbabantay at sinusundan itong 5901 sa anumang galaw nito. At meron tayong mga ibang assets gaya ng eroplano mula sa Coast Guard at iba pa mga assets ng ating Northern Luzon Command, ng Area Task Force North, ng National Task Force West Philippine Sea. At hindi po natin ito pinababayaan.
The PCG confirmed that they have been monitoring the CCG vessel for 3 days. The ship has been moving slowly, going up north and returning to the vicinity of Bajo de Masinloc.
As of this time, around 1200,
the distance of the Chinese Coast Guard, the location of the Chinese Coast Guard 5901 is at approximately 65 nautical miles from southwest of Los Baines Island of Zambales. So makikita natin dito, the Chinese Coast Guard is 5901 is no longer crossing the limit more than of not less than 60 nautical miles. This is already the third day that the BRP Cabra is actively and vigilantly monitoring itong China Coast Guard vessel na to.
While the presence of the monster ship raised concerns, Tariela clarified that there is no evidence linking it to the submersible drone with Chinese markings found recently in Masbate. Maritime law expert Professor J. Batombakal interprets China's latest actions as part of its narrative, asserting territorial claims over the waters.
Kung ang sasabihin lang nila ay they're exercising freedom of navigation, no, pwede yun, no? Lusot sila doon. Pero obvious naman na yung buong konteksto nung kanilang activity ang dapat nating i-consider, hindi lang kung ano yung sasabihin nila. Malamang ang gagawin niyan ay kagaya ng ginagawa nila sa Malaysia, na every year meron silang seremonyas doon sa James Shoal, no? Baka yun na yung gagawin nila, magsiseremonya siya dyan sa dulo nung sa yung pinaka-edge ng kanilang 9-dash line, no? Na malapit na nga sa atin.
The PCG has documented the incident and will submit a report to the National Task Force on the West Philippine Sea. Although this is not the first time the monster ship has been sighted in the Philippine waters, its presence continues to instill fear among Filipino fishermen, reminiscent of similar incidents in Zambales and Palawan. No new reports of harassment against Filipino fishermen have been recorded, but the NSC emphasized the need to strengthen the presence of Philippine troops in the area to support local fishermen. Francis Polbe, Bilyonaryo, News Channel.
Congressman Erwin Tulfo admits he was once an illegal alien in the U.S. He made a statement as he responded to criticism that he is not qualified to run for senator. Zandro Ochona reports.
ACT-CIS Party List Representative Erwin Tulfo blasts critics for questioning his credibility ahead of the 2025 midterm elections after issues on his U.S. passport emerged. On Facebook, former broadcaster Jay Sonsa questioned Tulfo for running as senator in the upcoming polls. Sonsa asked how a man who lied about his identity can run for the Philippine Senate. In his program, Punto Asentado Reload, Tulfo asserted he did not scam anyone.
Ito lang masasabi ko, wala po akong nilabag na batas dito sa ating bayan. Wala po akong nilokong tao ni isang Pilipino. Maging sa Amerika nung nandoon po ako, wala po akong inistapa, wala po akong iniskam ng mga Pilipino, maging ng mga Amerikano. Wala po akong niloko. Yung nire-remit ko ho na pera dito ay galing po sa pagod at pawis ko.
Tulfo also admitted he was once an illegal alien in the U.S.
Hindi ko rin ikinahihiya by Aljo na once upon a time nag-TNT ako. Na once upon a time illegal alien ako. Once upon a time nagtrabaho ako na undocumented. Iyon no. Yung ibang mga kababayan ho natin, karamihan ho si mga nakaka-relate. Hanggang ngayon marami po tayong mga kababayan tayo na nag-OFW na walang papel. Na tumatakbo sa Amerika.
He also blasted vloggers who he said are running a smear campaign against him.
Yung isa naman ho dyan na dating TV personality sa Davao na may kasong istapa. Sir, kung gusto mong makatulong, tumigil ka na lang ho. Imbis na mag-criticize ka, dapat constructive criticism. And you know that. Pag nagbumanat ka, dapat meron kang opinion or idea na ito ang dapat gawin. Hindi yung tira ng tira.
Tulfo believes he's being attacked because he's leading the senatorial surveys. Zandro Ochona, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
The U.S. reports its first human death due to bird flu. The patient in Louisiana was hospitalized with the H5N1 virus on December 18 after exposure to a combination of backyard chickens and wild birds. The patient was not identified. But officials say the patient was over 65 and had underlying medical conditions. Nearly 70 people in the U.S. have contracted bird flu since April, but health officials say the risk to the general public remains low.
What the state recommended and what we would recommend is that people be careful about sick and dead animals and their droppings and contact with them, and not eating undercooked poultry or eggs or milk, consuming milk that hasn't been pasteurized.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump loses his bid to put off his sentencing in his hush money case. This means the January 10 sentencing will push through just days before his official return to the White House on January 20. But Judge Juan Merchan said he's not inclined to send the U.S. President-elect to jail. He said a sentence of unconditional discharge, effectively putting a judgment of guilt on his record without a fine or probation, would be the most practical approach right now. Trump's hush money case stemmed from a $130,000 payment his former lawyer made to adult film actress Stormy Daniels to keep her quiet about a sexual encounter. Trump was found guilty on all 34 felony counts. Malaysia's appeals court grants the request of jailed former Prime Minister Najib Razak to serve his remaining sentence at home. The Court of Appeals overturned a lower court's dismissal of his previous request. The case will now return to the High Court for hearing by a different judge. Najib was found guilty in a corruption case linked to the 1MDB scandal. He served less than 2 years of his sentence before it was commuted by the Pardons Board. His sentence is now due to end on August 23, 2028. A Russian drone strike kills a civilian in Ukraine's southern city of Kherson. 9 more were hurt in the attack that struck a passenger bus. Russian forces partially occupy the region. Russia denies deliberately targeting civilians, but thousands have been killed and injured since Moscow invaded Ukraine in February 2022. Pope Francis names the first woman to lead a major Vatican department. The Pope appointed Italian nun Simona Brambilla to take charge of the Dicastery for Institutes of Consecrated Life and Societies of Apostolic Life. She replaces Brazilian Cardinal João Braz de Aviz, who had led the office since 2011. The department oversees the world's Catholic religious orders. Vibrant floats and costumes take over the streets of Colombia for the country's renowned Black and White Carnival. The annual event, held from January 2 to 7, is recognized by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage. It offers a blend of artistic expression, with participating artists spending months meticulously designing their artworks.
We aim to honor nature and our ancestors, hence the lions, man's bond with nature, the tiger, the snake, and we wish to offer this beautiful creation to the carnival. This is my 3rd year at the Black and White Carnival of Pasto, and it has always been my dream. Since childhood, I've dreamed of being at the carnival, enjoying it. It's our heritage, and we love it very much. That's why there's so mumuch dedication for a beautiful carnival, for our lovely Pasto people and also the tourists.
We're taking another breather. Still to come, are Tom Holland and Zendaya finally engaged? Entertainment news are up next. Stay with Newsfeed at noon. Welcome back to Newsfeed at noon. Let's now get an update on the weather. Joining us now on the line is Pag-asa weather specialist Veronica Torres. Hi, Veronica.
Hi, Miss Mai, and all of our audience.
So, Veronica, ang amihan nakakaapekto pa rin sa Northern and Central Luzon. Saan po mga areas specifically ang may pag-ulan today?
Tama po kayo dyan. Patuloy pa nga rin yung epekto ng amihan sa mga nabanggit niyong lugar. At ngayong araw, asahan natin na magiging maulan dahil sa amihan sa Cagayan Valley, Cordillera Administrative Region at Aurora.
Veronica, sa Metro Manila medyo makulimlim ngayon. Ano ba ang forecast for today and the rest of the week?
For today sa Metro Manila, magandang panahon pa rin yung inaasahan natin, although may chances pa nga rin ng mga maihinang pag-ulan lamang.
Veronica, ano yung forecast for the Visayas and Mindanao?
For Visayas and Mindanao, magandang panahon din yung inaasahan natin. Pero may mga chance pa nga rin ng mga localized thunderstorms. Although in the next days, not ruled out kung makaka-apekto yung shear line sa ilang bahagi ng Visayas.
You mentioned the shear line, Veronica. I understand it is still affecting the eastern section of southern Luzon. Saan po mga areas specifically ang makakaranas ng pag-ulan?
Kung ngayong araw, nakita na lamang natin sa Quezon Province magdadala ng paulan ang shear line.
Alright, maraming salamat, Pag-asa weather specialist Veronica Torres. Looks like wedding bells are ringing for Hollywood couple Tom Holland and Zendaya. Multiple reports say the Spider-Man co-stars are now engaged. The British actor was said to have popped the question over the holidays in one of Zendaya's family homes in the U.S. Speculations were fueled after the actress was spotted wearing a huge diamond ring on the Golden Globes red carpet. Tom and Zendaya met on the set of Spider-Man Homecoming, where they play on-screen couple Peter Parker and MJ. They have been dating in real life since 2021. And before we go, OPM legends Eraserheads gives us a backstage pass through a documentary film which also tells the untold story of their breakup. The much-anticipated film is set to hit local cinemas in March. Here's a look at Combo on the Run.
It's time to look at the future and honor the past. I wanted a band that had no fear.
I'm Randy, the Eraserheads, and you're listening to your radio! Yeah!
There are rules in mainstream media. There was a big Senate inquiry about it.
We were just, playing along. We knew it was a farce anyway.
Anything that rattles that cage is threatening, no? So the heads were threatening to culture, really.
There were no manual for how to rock star.
Suddenly, we were making movies and commercials.
And we never took breaks.
Looking back, we didn't take care of each other.
It was the professional stuff that really got to me.
Oh, Raymond would stick his nose into everything.
Oh, what? What's happening?
I was a punk. I didn't realize I was just throwing a tantrum, diba?
Again, I would not wish that on anyone.
How am I around the three other guys? Yeah, you might say guarded.
We realize that we're old and maybe we will die soon anytime, Like, cut the shit, dudes.
Deciding to put up this show together with the other boys would be some sort of healing for everyone.
What's the most difficult thing that you have to overcome for this to happen, you feel?
That's a good question. Tough question.
Oh, wow, we've never been asked that question. Can we get back to you on that?
reunion concert, I hope, is up next. And those are the news this hour. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Keep it here on the Bilyonaryo News Channel. Good afternoon.